So, time for the most important part of today's update, other than, of course, the ducks. Time to talk about stretch goals. Like every other Kickstarter, stretch goals are a way that we can put in more content than we originally intended. Our stretch goals, we think, are going to be pretty exciting to you guys, especially the second one. So let's just start with the first one. Very simple. Hopefully the easiest of all our stretch goals to attain. And that one will come with at least one additional class per realm and at least one additional race. We are hoping for 2 races, but we'll commit absolutely to 1 other race and 1 other class per realm. So a total of 3 races, 3 classes. So that's a pretty good stretch goal. In terms of the amount, we'll post that along with other information about this a little bit later in our Kickstarter. Now for the second stretch goal. There's a lot of things that people have asked for. And obviously, you've seen our teaser art, so maybe you know where we're going to go with this. And now I present to you the Depths. The Depths is an RvR dungeon. And as everyone who is listening to my voice now probably knows, long time ago at a studio far, far away, well, not that far, just about a mile down the road, we created something called Darkness Falls. In my opinion, Darkness Falls is one of the greatest innovations in any MMORPG. It was an awesome RvR dungeon which featured absolutely terrific PvE content. And now, as everyone who has read my foundational principles, who've been to the forums, who have talked to me in the comments section knows, I have said no PvE leveling. I have said no PvE loot drops. I said that this is going to be an RvR focused game, and a lot of you who have even asked for something like Darkness Falls have said, how can you do that? How can we make an RvR based dungeon? Well, I'm going to tell you. So, I know you must be thinking, what is the role of the Depths in an RvR-focused game like Camelot Unchained? Well, let me tell you. First, mines. Contained within the Depths are some of the most valuable mines in the game. If you want to get to them, you got to get through the Depths. You got to get through the other team that wants to stop you. You've got to get through the NPCs in order to get to those mines. Once you get to the mines, of course, your crafters get involved. Now, besides the mines, there are other things. We've got the great forges. These forges are scattered all around the Depths. You'll find them in some, pretty obvious places, kind of like the big neon light and arrow pointing down, though of course there are no arrows in the game unless they're sticking in somebody's back. But you will want to get to them and you'll want to control them because after all, your crafters are going to want to use them. If you want some special equipment, if you want something that can only be made in one of the great forges, you'll have to take charge of the Depths. So, we've got mines, we've got forges. What else do we have there? We have lots of things that can be scavenged from the Depths. Because as we've talked about just a little bit in terms of the backstory, of course, of Camelot Unchained, there's been an apocalypse. What once was is no more, except for what might be found underground. And that's part of the secret of the Depths. Because not only do you have mines, not only do you have forges, not only do you have materials that you'll be able to scavenge, you'll have access to the Veil through the Depths. And we're going to talk about that a bit more as well in another update. So, mines, forge, scavenge material, the Veil. Anything else? Absolutely. The NPCs. Now, these are not bosses. I'll explain that later in this update, but there are NPCs in there. There need to be. These NPCs are geared to whatever side currently, controls the Depths. When you control it, you can help your chances of keeping control as well as dealing with the enemy by bringing in some of these NPCs to help you. How you do that? Well, that's where the places of power come in. Terrible in name, I know. very, very tropey, very cliched. We'll do better. But for right now, let's just call them pops. So when you go to these pops and you control these pops, you'll be able to cause NPCs to pop. Okay, that was bad, sorry. But that's the idea. So you will be able to summon these creatures, control these creatures in what, boy, is starting to sound a bit like, oh, some tower defense mechanics. And that is the next thing I want to talk about for the depths. So I mentioned tower defense mechanic, and that is part of what makes the depths different from any other, or certainly most other, RvR/PvP dungeons I've seen in MMOs. Obviously not in standalone games, of course, because there have been some tremendous standalone games such as Orcs Must Die, which used a mechanic like this. But this is certainly a different one, especially for MMOs. So your crafters are going to be able to come in and build traps. They're going to be able to build structures. They're going to be able to build weapons, catapults, ballistas, other things to make it more, interesting when the other side comes into the depths. So first, you have an RvR dungeon, which by controlling it, you get all sorts of, goodies. Second, you have the tower defense aspect, where your crafters and even some of your non-pure class crafters can come in and set up defenses. Because frankly, you're going to lose control of this. Everyone loses control after some time. And when you do, you want to be able to make sure that the other team, the other realm that's going to come in there, they won't have such an easy time about it. So besides the loot, you guys get to make life miserable for the other realm that is going to take control after you do. And while that's pretty good, let me tell you about a fun little thing that we're also adding to that mechanic. We've talked about the goodies, we've talked about the tower defense aspect, and now let's talk about Showtime. What is Showtime? Showtime is a wonderful little ability that the crafters have to put up, seeing eyes, orbs, cameras, that sort of thing, into the depths. Because after all, spending a lot of time to set up defenses is fun. But what's even more fun is watching that other side fall into them, to get burned alive, to have rocks fall on top of their heads, to have spikes come out and impale them. I mean, right? Don't we all love that sort of thing? So you'll be able to see it. Your crafters will be able to put up these cameras. And frankly, cameras could also be a distraction. A red herring, because maybe the other side sees these things and goes, there must be something around here. And that's part of the whole ethos of this place. Not everything is what you see. Not everything will be obvious. Sometimes there will be lots of traps. Traps laid by the depths themselves. Traps laid by your crafters. All sorts of wonderful things that you're going to be able to do, and then watch it as it happens. Now, this isn't the first time a mechanic like this has been used. Certainly, it is a little bit more common in non-MMOs. And way back when we did get Godzilla online, we had the reporter class that actually was there to watch the action. But that's what you're going to be able to do here. Anywhere you want to put your cameras, anywhere you want to just watch the fun and frolic as the enemy comes into the depths, that will be up to you to set up, and then you can sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show. So, what is the depths going to look like? Well, it's not going to be hell. Obviously, that's Darkness Falls, and so we're not going to do that. Our architecture is going to be much more interesting, frankly. You're going to have bridges over, chasms. Bridges, of course, which sometimes will be there for you. Other times your crafters are going to have to build. We're going to have the very unique architectural stylings of each realm at times spreading throughout the depths. It won't be static in the way that most of these type of places are in games. The architecture will be meant to, horror inspired. Fantasy as well, but horror. And again, not hell. So you will see things like the impaling tree, the pool of souls, and other places which really might belong more in something out of Geiger than something, you know, out of Tolkien. And that's the sort of place we want to build for you. The Depths is not this, you know, oh gee, old and musty dungeon. It is a place that is alive. It is a place where no matter which side holds it, has a will of its own. And that we want to reflect through not only the architecture, but also the things you'll find in there, including the RvR NPCs. So, RvR NPCs. They really come in two flavors. Your basic, you know, kind of tasty and crunchy NPCs. Nothing really all that special about them, except that, well, there's a twist. And this twist also applies to the larger ones, things that you might call bosses. The lower level RvR NPCs, that can be you. As a player, you'll have an option, of course, well, to hang around if you like when your side loses control of the Depths. But in one of those pops, you can also decide to transform yourself. And if you decide to transform yourself, you can turn into one of these NPCs. Not just a typical NPC, but maybe something a little bit fun. Ooh, how about a pesky poltergeist? How about something that's there not necessarily to kill the enemy, but to harass the enemy, to bother the enemy, or to scare the enemy even. That's what we want to see from this place. We do want it to be horror themed, and we want you as an RvR player to get involved in that. Now, of course, you can play certain more powerful RvR NPCs, and that is the only time that the other realm can level inside this Depths by killing NPCs if there happens to be a real player inhabiting that body of that NPC. And as I told you guys right from the beginning, no PvE leveling tracks, no PvE drops. This is an RvR NPC. This is controlled by another player. Very different, much more challenging, and we think a lot of fun. So, the other thing you can play is, yes, an RvR boss. Now, how that is going to be determined, who gets to play the RvR boss, that's something we're going to be working out, obviously, over the next 2 years. But, think about it. How many times have you been in games and think, I want to play the boss? You get to play Godzilla, for God's sakes. You get to play these big, bad nasties. And then you get to kill a lot of the enemy realm. Perfect, right? Fun, right? You're going to be able to do that in the Depths. And that is the highlight of the RvR NPC portion. Just think about it. You get to be one of the big bads, or the big bad. How much fun will that be? Now, I know what some people are going to say. Well, it's fun for the one guy. It won't be just one. And it certainly won't be 1,000, because frankly that would be silly. But a lot of NPCs that can go around, and a lot of opportunities to get the chance to be one of the bad guys, or even the one big bad. Sounds cool, right? Just want to say one more time, even with these folks being RvR NPCs, there still will be no item drops off that. So again, I want to be really clear. You still will not be able to get drops from them, but because they are players, you will be able to level off them. So again, no item drops. That hasn't changed. And because they're players, you will be able to level off them. Sounds good, right? Think about it. You now have something else to shoot for as an RvR player. And that, we hope, will be one of the highlights of the Depths. So, that's it for today's update. I hope you folks are really excited about our stretch goals. Number one, not bad, but the Depths. I hope everyone who is hearing this is as excited as we are to potentially see the Depths, because we really want to create it for you. So, over the next 24 hours, we hope to see, a whole bunch of comments from you guys on our backers page. We'll be looking forward to talking to you about them. We also will have some more updates, probably maybe one more talking head or written one from myself. And if things continue to go well, another update of our fun little Oz Hammer game. So, speaking from Duck Central, these guys are just great. I hope you guys have a very pleasant Friday morning or afternoon, or whenever you hear it, you've had a great day. Thank you very much, and as always, thanks for the support.